Detroit Lions fans, Detroit Den 313 back with another episode. You know what to do. Before we get going, hit that subscribe button. Helps us out tremendously. I still don't understand how we have all of these people watching. Like, what did you say, Steve? I don't even know if you
40,000 regular watchers. 40,000.
When we're just approaching 10K of subscribers. Listen, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our stuff. Today we're talking prospects today. Steve, what prospect we talking about today?
I'm intrigued, William. I'm intrigued. I'm excited. Half staff in the pants, not full chub, but we're getting there. Okay, maybe. Yeah. I'll try to keep it PG, but we're gonna be talking James Pearce from the University of Tennessee. We are fresh, and I mean so fresh off of a live show where people were throwing a lot of prospects out there, and I said, please nobody mention James Pearce because I don't want to talk about him twice in a day. So nobody mentioned him, and I said, all right, let's hop on fresh off of a live show. Let's talk James Pearce, get it up, have that out to you guys now. 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is usually when we come out with our shows. Well, when it comes to James Pearce, he's not in my tier of gotta have, but he's in my tier of I'm really, really, really interested to see what's going to happen throughout these next 60 some days with him. Because at one point, he was projected at the beginning of each college football season. I get way too far ahead, but I go on there and I look at mock drafts. There was a couple places, I think CBS and I think one of the ESPN guys had James Pearce as the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft. Now, some things have changed. Obviously, there's some quarterbacks out there. But for someone to identify that talent and to say, we could be looking at him in a Detroit Lions uniform, does that get you excited at all?
I don't know how I feel about it yet. I don't know how I feel about it. I've been on an emotional roller coaster, man. Just like you said, he was a guy last year, and I always like to watch at the end, like the year before, prospects that are coming into their senior college season or their draft eligible college season, and who's going to be the guys that are going to be the guys to watch and look out for. His name was buzzing. His name was buzzing as a guy who could be a top half of the draft guy, and the stock has dropped a little bit. Production wasn't what we thought that it would be, although he produced. Let's not get it twisted. This is a guy that had 7.5 sacks in 2024. But last year he had 9.5, and we thought that he was going to take a step forward this last season. So again, he didn't completely disappear, but down in, down out, week in, week out, you didn't see the same guy. Some weeks you saw a guy that was an absolute problem, and other weeks you saw a guy that was he was a jag, man. By jag we mean just a guy. He was just a guy out there. He was just a guy out there above average, but he wasn't an absolute game wrecker every week. So that's something that I got my eye on. That's something that worries me. Steve, Mel Kiper spoke to James Pearce a little bit, and I'm gonna bring that in right now. If technology is my thing, we'll see.
I think you just deleted it.
Yeah. No, did I for real?
I think so. Yeah.
There's no way I could have did something like that. I wouldn't do nothing like that, man, because technology is my thing, Steve. Don't doubt me. Don't ever doubt me again. But anyways, so listen, Mel Kiper speaking to James Pearce, and he says, listen, there's some players that I think every evaluator can admit this. You can't feel strongly about one way or the other. You almost have to throw your hands up in the air and say, I don't know if I can make a strong argument to take this guy. He said James Pearce is one of those guys as it stands right now. He said he thought based on the 2023 season that he would be like a guy like Mikael Williams, or maybe a guy that's the number 1 pick overall in the draft that's from the pass rusher position. He thought he was a guy that would have a ton of sacks and be wrecking havocs. And when he turned on the film, that's not what he got, man. He said he showed flashes, man. He was disruptive in moments, man. He did hustle, he did chase down plays, but he didn't get what he thought he was going to get week in and week out. So when you're looking at that, Steve, when you're looking at that, I got to think to myself, is that a guy that I'm okay with drafting in the first round with my first round draft pick? A guy that I don't feel warm and fuzzy about, a guy that I'm not 100% sure about? And the answer for William Ford is this: depending on who is there at pick 28, yes. When I watch this film and some of the things that this guy can do at pick 28, yeah, I feel comfortable with the things that I can see out of James Pearce at pick 28. Now, Is he a guy that I would trade up to pick 10, pick 11, pick 12 or something like that? And we've talked about other players. No, I'm not going to trade up to aggressively pursue this guy. But at pick 28, am I willing to take a little bit of a risk on this guy? This is a guy that has shown on film that he's going to be a productive player. Now, does he fit the mold of what we ask for out of Detroit Lions? I don't know. I think, Steve, you mentioned this all the time. I'm going to give you your flowers because I think the Detroit Lions are going to find the answers to the things that they need to know in that interview room. When they sit down and they talk to him and they ask him about his preschool girlfriend and why he dumped her after she tripped him on the playground because he has no loyalty, then we know that James Pearce is our guy. But when we find out that James Pearce is a guy who's opening the door for every grandmother and carrying their groceries in for and putting them away, he door dashes on the weekend, he reads to people at the hospital. When we find that out about
Memorize the scripture. He does it all.
absolutely about the interview process, man, he will get drafted. So it's kind of there's a little bit of a risk reward with this guy, but when you watch the film, when you see what he's doing, he's got some special traits and some special characteristics. Him opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson does excite me. So Steve, how do you feel? What is your excitement level? Does he scare you a little bit with the drop?
Listen, when you're 20 years old and you're playing SEC football for I don't know if we can call them a powerhouse. Tennessee, they made the playoff. They're kind of a weird program. Well, I can't call them a powerhouse, but a respectable program, I guess. As a sophomore, 9.5 sacks. So that's where this is coming from with him being a potential number 1 overall pick going into the start of the last year's college football season. People were looking at him and saying, 9.5 sacks as a sophomore, like he might put up Aiden Hutchinson numbers like he did at Michigan his senior year and go out there and put up 14 or more. That didn't happen. He still had a good year. He still had 7.5 sacks. That's respectable. It's not, light the world on fire stats, but when you watch his film and you see how he gets those 7.5 sacks and you start seeing on that D line, he's kind of the main guy you have to focus on. I love that. My only concerns is everything you just said. Some character issues, some high effort issues. Is he really giving it all down in, down out? I think we're spoiled by Aiden Hutchinson, and it gets taken for granted from a lot of people that when 97's on the field, it's all gas, no brakes. I don't know if James Pearce fits that type of category. So what you're pretty much asking is the risk worth the reward? Yes. Yes, the risk is worth the reward. I can't say he's a generational talent, but he's potentially, possibly, we'll have to see how the cards fall, the best pass rusher available at pick 28. Is that what we need? Yes. What's going to happen at the NFL Combine is I would pay a couple $100 to just have some audio installed in that Detroit Lions room where they're interviewing these guys, some audio and some visuals. Let's see how these interviews go, because I would rather watch that instead of dudes running for 5 seconds down a field in their shorts. I'd rather hear what they're saying. I hear how they're answering questions, hear how they're dissecting things, hear all these personal stuff, hear him justifying why people are saying so-and-so about him. I would much rather dive into that, but we don't have access to that. We saw a little bit of it in Hard Knocks. That's probably my favorite part of the combine is getting those reports and some leaks coming out. If he's a guy that gets an interview from the Detroit Lions, he's going to get put to the test. He's going to get grilled. All right. I've seen some things on Hard Knocks from other teams where, they're breaking down some quarterbacks, they're having them redraw plays. Like, they're not going to be gentle on them. This is an investment for the Detroit Lions. They need to check all their boxes and make sure that this is an investment that we think is going to pay off for us. So whatever he answers in that combine interview room is far more important than what he does at the combine on the field when the cameras are showing for the NFL Network. We can justify his game tape, but we're talking character issues. We're not going to really have an answer to that. So is the juice worth the squeeze? Listen, I'm going to bring in a clip. I'll let you guys decide. We'll just let this play. There's no audio. We had to kill it. YouTube will give us a little spank on the bottom if we have clips with other audio. So just enjoy it. He's tagged out. You'll see where he is on these formations. I think it's about 3 or 4 plays. Problem, Will. Just you can't block them. Can't block them, Will. Against the UTEP Miners here, it's not top-notch competition, but what you can't dispute is that he has athleticism. He's got the ability to win a one-on-one there. So do you think that he would be a good fit for the Detroit Lions, Will?
I do. I think he'd be a great fit. Get him to Detroit right now at pick 28. I'm fine with it. Um, pending the character issues and the interviews, but we're just talking about what I see on the football tape. His potential is his potential is crazy. His potential is crazy. Versatility is crazy. He's a guy that can drop back, which I love, man. Instead of just being a guy that has to just play the edge, has to just play just pass rush responsibilities. Just the guy that you can drop back in coverages a little bit. I think that he has a skill set of a guy who can run with a running back if you so choose to have him do things like that. The positional versatility, man, is something again that I love. It's something that I look for in guys. I think that's something that's very important to Brad Holmes. He talks about it all the time. He doesn't draft guys to play positions. He drafts football players. James Pearce is a football player. Now, what I need to find out is, does he love football? Or is this just something that he happens to be good with or good at? Because the Detroit Lions draft football players that love to play the game, that lean into the work, that are team guys. And it's not like we've never drafted somebody who had some questions. No, so it remains to be seen what these questions pan out to be. Are they true character issues? Are these misunderstandings? Or are these things that maybe he came into college with, but they've gotten worked out since? Those are the questions that need to get answered. But all I can evaluate if I'm not going to be in those rooms is the football that I see. And this is a guy who has the build, what, 6'3", 250, right? He has the speed and explosiveness. He has the agility. Um, I think that he's a guy that would fit in perfectly with the Detroit Lions, and he gives us an opportunity up for somebody who could actually be there at pick 28 with things going on. So I'm excited about this guy, man. I'm going to continue to do some digging on him. What only thing that I'm worried about is the draft board shuffle. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about when I say the draft board shuffle, what I mean is this: us podcasters, us the sports media, the combine experts like Mel Kiper and Field Yates and all those guys. We have where we think these guys are going to fall on the board currently. Now, you get to that combine, you get to the Pajama Olympics, somebody's going to run 4.3, somebody's going to run 4 ever, and you're going to move around that draft board. And some guys are going to drop. Some guys that were never on the board, like the Nolan Smiths of the world, is going to run a 4.3 and all of a sudden slide into the first round. Those things are going to happen. So when that happens, we'll see where James Pearce falls then. Will he be a guy who tests so well that he jumps back into the first half of this draft? Maybe he jumps past these Jalen Walkers and Mikhail, or what is it,
Williams.
Mikael Williams. Yeah, I'm sorry, chopping his name up, but maybe he jumps past those guys because he tests so well, man. Maybe he does something that is so special. He runs 4.4 or 4.3 on top of what he already offers, man, from the film standpoint. We don't know. But I guarantee some things are going to happen. Some people are going to go to some spaces that they aren't currently in. So when that happens, we'll see where he falls, and we'll see if he's still a guy that could be there at pick 28. I think right now he is. He's a guy that could potentially be there at pick 28 or in striking distance if he's a guy that Brad Holmes falls in love with. Either way that it goes, he's definitely a guy that would fit with the Detroit Lions. But I'm very, 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 very interested in this Pajama Olympics because I think that that's really what's going to tell the tale of what this guy really is he as freakish as he looks on film.
You know what I would do if I was Brad Holmes? I'm
Just
flying
draft
out
him right now.
Maybe not right now, but we got 60 some days to figure out if we're going to draft him. I'm calling Hendon Hooker. Hey man, you guys overlapped for a year at Tennessee. What was he like? Was he first guy in the locker room? Was he late to meetings? Was he involved with me? I'm getting all the information I can before I even get to the combine. I know they only overlapped for 1 year, but when you're with someone every single day for a year during college football season, you're going to know about him. Hey, I know he was a freshman, but as a freshman, how did he stick out? Did he do anything to separate himself in a bad or positive way? Was he sitting in the front row? Did he have his Bible with him? Was his phone on? Did he ever interrupt anything? Like, I'm getting in Hendon Hooker's ear and I'm finding out everything I can on top of what I'm going to ask him at the combine to validate this. So I like to take some dots and some clues and investigation and kind of be like, Hey, Brad Holmes is traveling here. What's going on? Wait, why is he traveling here? Not there. I got a guy on my team who played with him at college. I can get some information from that. So, hey, Hendon Hooker, if I'm Brad Holmes, we got to have a conversation because I'm looking at drafting this kid in the first round, and there's some concerns about his character. So, what do you know?
Steve, are you telling me? Because what I heard was this. I heard that you have the jet follower on Brad Holmes, and you're following his private jet.
I got an Apple tracker in his duffel bag.
Yeah.
Any flight that leaves Allen Park, Steve Perkins is aware of. Okay, let's just say that. And when he takes the helicopter over to DTW to catch his flight, I know about it before anyone else. Okay, I check this phone and I just check that Apple tracker and I see where he's going. If he's going to wherever Hendon Hooker's house is, wherever he lives in the off season, I'll know what conversations being had. When he's traveling to Alabama instead of Michigan's pro day with 20 some prospects, I know what's going on. I know that the big dog wants his eye somewhere instead of somewhere else. Like, it's just clues, Will. Football and scouting is an easy thing. You just got to pay attention to the clues.
Unreal. Unbelievable.
So what's your interest in comfort level? What's your comfort level, I guess, with James Pearce if he were drafted?
Can't answer that question. Politician's answer is what you're going to get. Sorry. Depends on who's on the board is the answer. But if he was a Detroit Lion, I'm happy. That's the bottom line. If he's a Detroit Lion, I'm happy and I'm excited about it. But how happy I am is going to depend on who's on the board. Is there some dudes that's on the board that I'm excited about in this draft that I watched on film? There is. So is he my number one? I guess is really what it boils down to. No, he's not my number one. Am I excited about what he does on a football field? Heck yeah, I am. So I don't know. Does that answer your question or?
Yeah, I mean, there's a typical Will answer. We don't get an answer. So I'll just say if he's a Detroit Lion, my comfort level's a 10 because I know Brad's going to do the homework. I know he's going to do his due diligence. I know he's going to find out what type of bed sheets he had on his bed when he was 5 years old. He's going to know everything about James Pearce, and he'll get to the bottom of it. And like you said, this could all just be misconstrued. Sometimes reporters take information and it just gets ran wild with. We've seen it ourselves, and people twisting words and things get blown out of proportion. So if he's drafted, my comfort level is a 10 right now. Today, my interest level is a 10 because I think he is very, very, very intriguing. I'm with you. He's not in my top 3. He's not my number 1 overall by any means, but with where we're picking at 28, he could be my number 1 available. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And like you said, this this draft shuffle, one player can throw a wrench into things. All right. We saw it last year and we were saying, we want some of these quarterbacks to get drafted. That helps the Detroit Lions. That helps some of these defenders just get pushed further and further back. We don't know what's going to happen. There might be a guy or a team that really likes Jackson Dart who comes into the top 10 and drafts him, and that just pushes another player towards us. So everything with where we're picking is going to help us. We got some options. James Pearce would be a great fit. Let's just check our boxes and make sure we're doing our homework on what needs to be done with the investigation, I guess we'll call it. Anything else for today, Will?
I'm just wondering, did Brad Holmes do his homework on Ennis Rakestraw before he drafted him? Did he do all the
character concerns? There's no character concerns with Ennis Rakestraw.
I didn't say there was. I thought there was some injury concerns that was talked about in Detroit in 313.
Brad Holmes likes to hit the crap stable, and he likes to gamble with players. So usually his gambles pay off. So I'm not going to question the man who's put together an NFL or a Super Bowl caliber team. Will apparently hates Brad Holmes.
Listen.
As you should, Will. Good journalists should ask tough questions, and that's what you're doing here.
That's right. And I'm going to tell you this. If you're still watching, and I'm going to say something, this is going to be a hot take. This year in 2025, now people might think I'm crazy to say this, but I believe 2025-2026 season, Brad Holmes is in the hot seat right now. He is in the hot seat. And let me tell you why. Before people go crazy, Steve, come back. Let me explain why. Get back here. Let me tell you why he's in the hot seat. Can you come back here so I can tell you why? Can I tell you why he's in the hot seat? Are you back?
You better blow my mind.
Are you ready?
No.
Yeah. Let me know when you're ready because this is about to be straight heat.
I don't know that I'll ever get ready, but I'm listening.
Okay, now you're listening. Listen, at this point, at 2025, if we like this, we're pushing what, year three of podcasting? At what point do we just take over for Tim 20, man? Because we haven't been contacted yet. So, Brian, listen, you're supposed to be a talent scout. This is supposed to be what you do. I'm confused at why your people haven't reached out to us yet. But 2025, 2026 season, if you don't see what we're doing and reach out to us, Man, I'm gonna start questioning some things, man, Steve. I don't know. I don't know if you're rocking with me or not, but
I am
hot
now.
seat,
But
Brad.
I'll tell you right now, the barrel was to my temple with where you were going with that at the beginning. All right, stick around, hit that like button. We'll be back later with another show.
Peace.